Train the muscles, not the joints.
So today on bench press, I'm going to do a little bit lighter weight, and then I'm going to move into a heavier weight for a set, and then I'm going to show you a certain technique that I've found works really well for really getting a great pump and also isolation in the chest with bench pressing. So it's not necessarily a major change in technique, but just how you're doing the repetitions and how you're applying a few of the principles that I talk on this channel, or that I talk about. So if you guys have been tuning in for a while, you'll know that there's lots of debate about how I do things, and a lot of times people will get too fixated on locking out or full range of motion or whatever, but I'm going to show you some ways of using principles from both trains of thought, and then from there you can see that it's all about tension in the end. It's all about tension on the muscle you want to hit. It's not necessarily important to have the black and white scenario when it comes down to range of motion. It's more about where are those forces playing out. But anyway, I'm going to show you an example of this, or something that you can do in your own training with multiple body parts, not just chest, but to try with other exercises, and therefore you can really see like where are those forces playing out, and you may perhaps get 10 times more gains from this, right? So it makes a massive difference. That's all I'm going to say. So first I'm going to warm up with some light weight. And I'm just going to move it to I'll do 225. Yeah. One thing that I want you guys to also realize, if you haven't realized it so far from watching me on this channel, is that medium weights, weights that you can do 20 reps with, weights that you're in the 20 rep range, 25 rep range, or 15 rep range, I want you to recognize that as you are training frequently, or at least the frequency that you find works best for you, most likely it's something other than a bro split for most people. When you can train a little bit more frequently, you're going to notice that you put on strength even when you're not lifting heavy all the time. So I find this is an underestimated aspect of training, where people get so fixated in the 1 rep maxes or doing 5 rep sets and all this stuff because they're so obsessed with that 1 rep max. But they're not thinking that maybe, it'll take a little bit longer to get to that higher 1 rep max if you're doing sets of 15 reps or sets of 10 reps and stuff. But if you're doing the 10 rep sets to 25 rep sets for most of your workouts, even higher reps in the isolation movements, but in the compounds, you're doing 10 to 25 reps or so, I will say that you will still put on strength, but you'll put it on in a safer way, and you'll start to put on muscle at the same time. Now, I'm not saying you never have to go heavy, or maybe you feel like you need to go to a 5 rep set once in a while. I'm saying, yeah, okay, fine. But don't delude yourself in thinking that that's the only way to gain strength, because when you're doing sets of 10 reps to 25 reps, you still are putting on strength. It's just not it's just that you're not measuring it in the 1 rep max range. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going from 275 for a set of 10, then you're going to 315 for a set of 10, you've put on strength, and I guarantee your 1 rep max has gone up in that period of time. So concentrating on 1 rep maxes is more of an injury risk. And even concentrating on certain rep ranges like 4 and 5 reps can still be an injury risk. I know guys that were doing sets like that and still tore things or hurt themselves quite extensively, right? So first things first, recognize that the weight only matters so much, really what you want to focus on is bringing that muscle to failure or to challenging the muscle, at least some of the time in your workouts. Maybe not every time, but at least some of the time. And then you will get some sort of adaptation from the muscle. You'll get some sort of strength increase, some strength endurance increase, and some muscle mass gains. So I talked recently that I'm doing high frequency workouts. And yeah, some of those workouts I'm doing super lightweight, and I'm not taking my sets absolutely to failure in some cases. Sometimes I feel like I should, and I am taking them to failure. But in the end, what I'm doing is I'm constantly ramping my body up to get ready for an intense workout, but I'm keeping that blood flowing and I'm keeping that coordination there so that way my body is ready for the more intense workout. So one might say that, oh, aren't you better off resting? Well, I found that when I rest too much, I find it works against me. So yes, you need rest, but there's going to be a point of diminishing return in rest as well. You know, some guys, if they take off 3 days off a week, like if I take 3 days off in a week, what I notice is that my strength actually goes down. So when, you know, some of the supposed experts say, oh yeah, take 2 weeks off training, your strength's gonna go up. Yeah, that might work for newbies. It might work for somebody that's just horribly overtrained or something. But for myself, I find that doesn't work at all. I find if anything, my body becomes disconnected. So, you know, it's a bit of a dance, right? You have to find out exactly how your body's responding and what's going on and why it's responding a certain way. And that does take some time. It's not like you get instantaneous, easy answers to your questions, but just through your investigation, eventually those answers will come to you. But yeah, myself, it's easy. If I walk into a gym and I see, oh wow, I feel this way, and then I walk into a gym another day, I feel this way. Okay, what did I do the day before that contributed to how I feel? You know, what have I been doing for the whole week that contributed to how I feel? And after I take 2 days off and I come into the gym and I see that I'm weaker, I feel like I'm out of breath, and I feel like my body's not functioning right, it's pretty much common sense for me to realize, okay, 2 days off is just too much. So that might not be the case with you, but with me, that's the way it is, you know? So let's go to 275. Mountain. So I haven't done 275 for a while, but I'm still around the same rep range, even though I'm actually cutting my carbs out at night and I've been cutting the calories back a bit. I'm saying calories, not that I'm counting calories, but I'm cutting my energy food back a bit in order to cut, but I've still maintained my strength. So the bottom line is that lightweight can help you maintain your strength. That's my point. Not just gain strength, but also maintain. So I'm going to do one more set of this, and then what I'm going to do is show you the different technique that I use in order to get the super pump in the pecs. Great, so I did 2 sets of 275, and of course, yeah, I'm not locking out, and I'm just doing what feels right, what feels good to me. It has nothing to do with ego lifting or anything. I'm just going with where I feel the tension, when I feel in the chest, and then once I start to lock out more, I don't feel in the chest anymore. I start to feel more shoulders and triceps and stuff. But what I'm going to do here is going to, trigger you if you're not triggered already. But I'm going to do super short ranges of motion on purpose on the bottom. And then as I go through the set and I start to hit close to failure, what I'm going to do is then extend the range of motion up, okay? And then it works awesome. So anyway, just so you know, you could pre-exhaust with the exact same exercise just by using different ranges of motion. Sometimes that's the way to do it. And then if you want, you can still extend or do, a larger range of motion after, whatever, but you're ensuring that that area that you find is hitting failure is the one you want to hit. So you're using the range of motion to really concentrate the area, all the tension on that area anyway. And then you start to bring in the other muscle groups like the shoulder and the tricep to extend the set a bit. So it's almost like a pre-exhaustion, but used with the same exercise. Now, I'm doing this on purpose because I like the stretch I'm getting in the chest, see? You don't have to touch your chest. You could just find what range of motion works for you. Oh yeah, that feels good, see? Oh yeah, that pumps it up, see? Oh yeah, so it gives you a good pump. So you could do this sort of thing with, say, incline curls if you want, for biceps. I mean, there's just lots of different applications, right? But this is one of the things I'm doing lately that's really been, let's just say, pumping the blood into the area and give me a new form of stimulation, right? That's really what you're looking for all the time. So you can experiment with lots of different exercises with this. I'll show you how to do bicep curls on an incline like this and see if you like that, you know? The whole premise though is to use a range of motion which exploits the stretch on the muscle you want to hit, not necessarily the stretch of the exercise, because sometimes certain exercises, when you stretch too low, they may transfer the stress to a different area, such as the joints in the worst case scenario, or a muscle that's not necessarily the one that you really want to concentrate on. So you want to keep that disclaimer in mind whenever you're doing this. But you know, one way of doing this too could be like, say when you're doing lat pull downs for back, you could be doing just, you know, just little movements like this, just exploiting the stretch, and then at the end, then just start to really squeeze and contract, right? Once you've already pre-exhausted those lats, you know? So just play around with it, right? I mean, and sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes just doing squeezing motions, you know, and then stretching it out might also be a different form of something. It could be called the pump and stretch principle, you know? So, you know, just by playing around with this range of motion, you can get some pretty interesting results. And, you know, in the end, you want to play around as much as you can because you're going to discover stuff when you're playing during your workouts instead of taking the stuff so seriously where you've got this 10 commandments of training and you never deviate. You know, if you never deviate, you're going to notice that you're going to lag behind. You know, there's a reason why most of the real mental guys in the gym, guys that are like very structural and everything has to be understood and written out and everything, a lot of times those guys aren't the ones that make the best results. I mean, you do see some at the top, but in my experience, most of the guys I saw running around the gym doing that weren't getting the same results as the guys that weren't afraid to play around and to apply intensity. So let's do another set here. It's super easy right now. There you go. There's a way of pre-exhausting the muscle with the exact same exercise. And yeah, play around with other exercises like this. And I'm going to put up some other videos maybe on some other techniques that I use, maybe with some other muscle groups. Mountain. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get hold of me, just go to naturalglandbodybuilding.com. And thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now.